I've picked up is desires again in the light of Sri Aurobindo and Mother, and it's a topic that governs our lives. And Mother and Sri Aurobindo both have written a lot about, shared a lot about desires, and it's especially for those of us who are ready to now look into their daily life and so-called mundane actions, because there is what hides the reality of the matter, which we are unaware of, what runs our lives. So if one doesn't have the capacity to look honestly at one's own life, then one can keep on living the so-called mundane or monotonous life. But in the same mundane or monotonous life, if one really clearly honestly looks, there are treasures waiting for us, and these are the treasures which it's kind of a prayer through these discussions or sessions, that these words of the Mother help us, guide us to find those treasures inside of us. So again, I've prepared a small compilation, and I'll be going through this compilation, is a little bit talking about that, explaining about it, using my own personal experiences, and also sharing some anecdotes. And in the meantime, if you have any concern, any question, any query or doubt that comes up, please type in the chat window. I'll take it up. So Mother is saying, first learn to know yourself perfectly, and then to control yourself perfectly. So through these sessions, what we are trying to do is to know ourselves. What is this machinery that I call as myself? This is a kind of a effort that I am putting now. First learn to know yourself perfectly, and then to control yourself perfectly. Because if I don't know which part in me is making what sound, then I will not be able to control it, or even refine it. So what we try to do in usual life is, we see that I see there is a problem in me somewhere, I want to correct it, but where is the problem exactly? That is the biggest challenge, to diagnose. So the diagnosis is very important. You will be able to do it by aspiring at every moment. It is never too early to begin and never too late to continue. So, one might say that, oh, I have committed so many sins in my life, and, ab jaake kya karungi Bhagwan ke paas type. So, one can really tell oneself that it is never too early to begin. Mother is saying that you're already late and never too late to continue. So, one can begin any time one feels ready, and it's never too early, because we have already kind of lost, if I can say, a lot of time in dress rehearsals. So, the real task is yet to begin, which Mother and Sri Aurobindo have prepared the path for us. And then Mother is saying you will be able to do it by aspiring at every moment. Now, what is this aspiration that Mother talks of incessantly? So this aspiration is a willingness that, yes, this is the path that I want to take. Yes, I want to live an honest and sorted life. Yes, I want to live a life in which there are no more hidden movements or hidden obscurities. This is an aspiration. This is a chah. This is a willingness. So without this willingness, I can never get rid of my issues. I can never get even, cured of my illnesses. This aspiration to come out of my own lower consciousness, to arise above it, is very, very important. Further, Mother is saying control over the lower impulsions is the first step towards realization. Now, one can ask, what are these lower impulsions? Now, these lower impulsions are what have the kind of conditionings of our mind, our emotions, our feelings, the way we react, which are very, very default. One feels that this is me, how can I leave myself? Because I have been used to this kind of a behavior since I was 8 year old. And we let that lower impulsion hold our life and run our life. So Mother is saying that control over lower impulsions is the first step towards realization, and before that one has to really understand oneself and know oneself. That is the path of integral yoga. Renunciation of desires. this, mother says, is the essential condition for realization. When mother says realization, it means realization of who you actually are, the true essence that you are. That is what realization is. So the unity with the soul is what realization is referred as in integral yoga. So mother is saying the first step is renunciation of desires. Now, if I am run by desires, if I am nothing but a desire living its life, how can I renunciate a desire? So that is where knowing oneself comes. That is where I begin to look at myself. Do I have any control over my behaviors or actions, or are my just impulses running me? So this is the thing that we ask in the beginning and also later on. We keep on asking, who is running my life? Is it a desire running my life, or am I kind of, living what grace is telling me to live through? Further, mother says, yes, we must keep the seat of our consciousness in the higher being and do whatever we are doing from there, not allowing the lower, blind, and selfish movements and reactions to spoil our work. Now, I have lived through this. I'm sure many of us have. This mixture of selfish movements. The grace is present like air is present throughout. It's not absent. The grace is never absent. The problem becomes when we mix our selfish movements in the movement of grace. And I personally am speaking from experience that it's not something very beautiful when a selfish desire gets mixed up in a graceful movement. It's not something that you want again in your life. And there comes again an aspiration to purify your life, to sanctify your life of these lower movements. Now, again, coming back to the first point that mother suggested, first learn to know yourself. Now, here I have to kind of, I'm doing a sorting. I'm doing a sorting which in me is the lower movement, blind movement, selfish movement, and what in me I can call grace or higher being. This is now sorting is happening. And again, willingness is very important in this sorting. Now, mother says yielding to the desires is not the way of getting rid of them. For example, I might have a desire to, eat sweet all the time. And what I do is I yield to the desire and I eat the sweet every time. So mother is saying that yielding to the desires is not a way to get rid of them. There is no end to it. So I might see that I have had a kind of a bucket full of sweet today, and even then the next day I still feel the same need. So there is no end to it. It's not that by filling the stomach of desire I am able to kind of put an end to it. So that is the very nature of desire. The nature of desire is that it is always incomplete. It remains incomplete. For example, people who are in love with electronic gadgets, they may see it gives us so excitement and anticipation, some new gadget is going to arrive. And the anticipation lasts only 2-3 days until the gadget comes. And then again it dies down. And then one is anticipating again for the next gadget to come. So there is no end to it. And mother is saying each one which is satisfied is at once replaced by another one. So ek desire khatam hui and the other one begins. For example, I wanted this person to behave according to my desire. He did that. And then I move on to the other kind of a victim or the other person on whom I have now the target, now this person should behave my way or this situation should behave this way. So this is what mother is saying, that there is no end to it. And they go on clamoring more, 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 more. And it's not that I will only go in one direction. That, for example, it was a desire for sweet. Once it is satisfied, then I move on to some person. Then I move on to some other satisfaction. So this thing, this incompletion within keeps on continuing, as if it is not finding completion in any satisfaction whatsoever. It is only by conquering the desires that you can get rid of them, by coming out of this consciousness of the lower nature and rising to a higher consciousness. Now, this is the catch. The catch is that mother is saying it is only by conquering the desires that you can get rid of them. Now, here comes the will part. Most of us, again, some of us have a very, very strong will who can, put an end to themselves that, I know that this is a desire in me and I'm not going to yield to it. So there are people who can do that. I know people who can do that. And it's really beautiful. It's amazing. But it's not every time that one can do that. I have been through many phases myself where a desire wants to live itself and you cannot willfully put an end to that desire. Now, what do you do? Mother is saying, rising to a higher consciousness. Now, this is what helped me personally. People who have a weaker will, who feel they are swept away by a desire. So what I personally did was I used that intensity of a non-fulfillment of desire in order to reach a higher consciousness. So you kind of you become like a very sharp pin or a razor or a very sharp kind of a dagger, and you pierce through your layers and you reach that place within you which is untouched by that desire. And once you are there in that kind of a floor, so you have changed the floor. Now desires are still clamoring on a lower floor. That game is, that party is still on, but what you did was you changed your floor. So you got a different picture now. You went into the floor of so-called higher consciousness where everything was untouched by this clamor. Desires were not partying over there. So what you did, you got a better picture. You got a picture that, oh, I can be here even when the desires are wanting to get fulfilled. And that is really a very beautiful feeling, that within yourself there are sections where you can jump here or there. And again, it depends on me to whom uh, to which floor do I give priority in which moment. If I have a willingness to jump the floor, if I am kind of pushed to jump a floor, then I will jump the floor, and it is right next door, it is not away. So this is what mother is saying, that you rise into a higher consciousness so that the lower consciousness now is partying around, but it's not able to bother you. Mother is saying, refuse to do anything whatsoever which leads you away from the divine. Now, this is what we have to slowly kind of get a feel of within ourselves. What is it that mother is saying, divine, divine? What does mother mean by this divine thing? Refuse to do anything whatsoever which leads you away from the divine. Now, this divinity is that purity, that peace, that power, that love, that knowledge, and that truth which is hiding inside of us. That is our divinity. And for all of us, it can be a different feeling. So it can be our own inner truth in that moment. And mother is, for me, for example, if I talk about me in this phase right now, I can bask myself in mother's presence. That is basking in the divinity. So mother is saying, refuse to do anything whatsoever leads you away from the divine. Now through this comes vivek or discretion, that I'm looking at my movements very, very carefully, that if I give in to this desire, I see that I'm going down, down, down in my lower consciousness. So I refrain from doing that. And I again keep on basking in the divinity or the inner truth. Again, one has to be very, very honest. One has to be very very sincere. And also one must be having this rasa from the divine presence within. Because what forces me to follow the desire is that I am not able to have that rasa from the divine presence within. The moment I am having a rasa in my own inner peace, in my own kind of a basking in grace, then it's impossible to push me away from that peace. But if I am not having the rasa from the divinity within, then the lower movements can very easily, kind of coax me. Hey, come on, we'll have some fun and we'll enjoy the juice out of this thing or conversation. So then it's very easy. So that is why first one has to get, only then one can let go of the lower movements. So getting the rasa is very important within. Now moving further, if you want to become conscious of my presence, mother is saying, in you, and to be delivered from hostile attacks. So this is a letter actually to a sadhak who is complaining that, I'm kind of always attacked by adverse forces. So mother is saying, if you want to become conscious of my presence in you and to be delivered from hostile attacks, you must renounce any attempt to satisfy your desires, because it is very easy to fall into the trap of hostile. It's like, it's like वो आपने देखा होगा जैसे if you do a, if you make kind of a very long chain of wooden blocks, and if you put them into one straight line, you put one block and then all rest of them fall off. I don't know what it is called in English. So like that, if you follow one movement of desire, it actually puts down you into a vicious trap, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. So that is why it becomes very important that, and we all have done that. It's not that we have not tasted what desires are and what trap they put us in. So that is why this conversation can be have with people who have tasted the rasa of desires and the poison of desires. So mother is saying, only when the vital has lost all hope of seeing its desire satisfied does it consent to be spiritualized. Now I'll share my experience here. So one needs to have a state of hopelessness, and I'll just kind of abstractly give my own experience that I was kind of obsessively after a desire, and it was a blind desire. One doesn't even know where it is leading you. And what happens is, it's very good that the desires are not answered. In during that phase we feel that, why is it not happening, why is it not happening, why is it not happening, but we don't even know that it's very very good that it's not happening. So what you do is, because the desires are not being fulfilled, you enter into a state of hopelessness, that okay, I have called enough, I have yearned enough, I have mangoed enough, but this is not happening. So you enter into a state of hopelessness. Now, mother is saying, only when the state of hopelessness comes, when the vital, the emotional part in me, the craving part in me sees that this is not going to be fulfilled, only then does it consent to be spiritualized. Now, look at this beauty, because on the top it is, one can feel, oh बेचारा, इसकी तो desires fulfill ही नहीं हो रही, बेचारे का मन ही नहीं मान रहा, तड़प रहा है मन. On the top it can feel like that, but if you really go into the deeper details, you realize that it is very very good that is happening, but only one can realize it that once one has a touch of that higher consciousness, that whatever is happening for good. That faith is really very very helpful in such a state. So mother further says, a desire which knows that it will never be satisfied at once vanishes, because it gives itself no choice. There is no choice. Now I see that the circumstances that are so suitable that yes, the desire will not be fulfilled. So in kind of a suffocation, that desire vanishes. So again, mother says that spiritual things, don't take them on face value. So on face value, it may seem that kitna bura hua, that he was suffocated and uski mange puri nahi ho rahi thi. But it's very, very good that it happens, so that it has the possibility of sublimating or vanishing. If one is not a master of one's desires, one cannot be a master of one's thoughts. And this is something that we all need to kind of, gradually work upon in life, in the presence of grace, that if I'm not my master of desire, the desire is, any impulse that I want to do this, and there is no, it's like a foolishness running you, it's like a madness running you. I want to do this, I want to have this, and I want to have it right now. It's like an impulse which sweeps you away. One cannot be a master of one's thoughts. And if you would look closely, what happens is सबसे ज्यादा हमारे विचार ही होते हैं जो हमें परेशान कर रहे होते हैं. So mother is saying कि अगर हम विचारों से शांति पाना चाहते हैं, बहुत जरूरी है कि हम कामनाओं, वासनाओं, इच्छाओं से हम अपना if we master themselves, we become a master of them rather than they running our life. I'll go further. I'll just take any questions if they keep on coming in the chat window. Sometimes you say all right even to our desires and ambitions. Now sadhak is asking that mother, sometimes you grant our desires. So mother is saying the grace works for progress on the path, and the satisfaction of desire may also serve that purpose in showing the inanity of desire, like silliness of desire. So mother is saying once in a while I grant you the desire because I also have to show you that even when the desire is granted, nothing changed. You are still in that state where you were. So that also is kind of needed for progress. So that's why I grant sometimes desires. Yeah. And then mother says to conquer a desire brings more joy than to satisfy it. Now this is something which we all have to experience in our own life. If you become really, really very kind of minutely associated with your own movements of life daily, you will see that, for example, if I'm pouring ice cream for someone and I want that last scoop for my own self, and I kind of don't, it's a very small stupid example that I'm using, and what I do is I just put that scoop in somebody else's cup, for example. I don't take that extra scoop. That mother saying that brings more joy than to satisfy it. And also the next point is that why it brings more joy, because when you are able to conquer a desire, you are touching that higher floor within you, that different substratum within you, the higher consciousness within you, which is full of joy and delight. And that is how you get better joy than the joy of satisfying a desire. To be continent is to allow no other movements in the being, mental, vital, physical, than those strictly indispensable to manifest the divine will. Now, what is the divine will? This we become only very gradually accustomed to as we allow grace to be present in our life. Now, how we can push away the grace from our life is, so grace is omnipresent. Grace is present like air in this room where you are. How I push away grace must be the question. So how I push away grace? I kind of, I become a wall in front of grace by my own agendas, by my own wants, my own desires, that this is how life must move and not what the divine wants. Like a big rock in front of a flow of a river. That is how I block the grace. So again, when mother is saying it's very important to know yourself, mother is saying exactly because of this purpose, because the more I know myself, the more I realize that, oh my God, I am kind of blocking grace in 1,000 possible ways. So I kind of, what I do is now I put off those walls. Now I don't build up those walls in front of myself, in front of grace. So further, in order to be cured, my child, not only is it necessary to stop all these unseemly practices completely, but it is necessary to get rid of all these unhealthy desires. Now mother is telling somebody who has food related issues. The person is very addicted to food and craves some certain kind of food. So mother is saying that you cannot be cured if you don't get rid of these unhealthy desires from your mind. And many of us do suffer from this illness of craving for certain kind of foods, which is okay once in a while, but again depends on what kind of a journey that I want to take now. If I really want to walk this path of integral yoga, then it has no place for satisfaction of these cravings or desires. And it's not that I'm controlling it, not at all. It's not that I'm putting an end by putting a putting a muzzle on my face. No, the thing is that I'm getting so much of juice in the divinity that these kind of things become very, kind of secondary now. So the muzzle doesn't need to be there on my desires. So mother is telling again to that sadhak that the power of the grace cannot work if you have no control over your desires. So if you keep on eating what you like, if you keep on craving and eating and giving in to the desires, no grace on earth can help you. This is what mother is saying. Because then we are subjected to the material law of nature. So if I am having oily and spicy food and I'm pushing grace away by yielding into the desires, then mother is saying no grace can help in that case. If our desires are to be rejected, why mother satisfies sometimes them, so again mother is telling again that sometimes I satisfy because it's not only control that is necessary. Sometimes I just give it to you like a present, ले लो, चलो इसके भी मजे ले लो और देख लो क्या change होता है, and nothing much changes in our consciousness. So I'll just move on further. Mother says it is impossible to satisfy desire perfectly. It is something which is really, really impossible. And to renounce the desire too. So mother is saying both of them are impossible. First of all, I cannot satisfy my desire completely, perfectly, that now it puts end to all my desire. That will not happen. The next thing that mother says in the next sentence is, and to renounce the desire is also not possible. Now, this is a very catch-22 situation that I cannot satisfy them and I cannot renounce them. Now, what should we do? Both ways are relatively impossible. What's possible is to enter a condition where there is no desire. Now, mother is leading us gradually to the kind of a key to the whole problem of desire. Yes, true, Preeti, very true. And that is what it's hinted in these kind of texts that, even if we, and one is, if when one is really very minutely observing oneself, even when I am satisfying a desire, then I will be able to see that, yaar, ye ho to gaya, but isse kuch, it doesn't matter. It's a very temporary happiness that I got. So that is why it is very important to get that juice, the fountainhead that is waiting for us within, so that the other small little happinesses become very kind of a trivial thing in front of that juice within. So now mother is pointing us at the key of the whole issue. Now this is something which I personally resonate with very, very strongly. Mother is saying it's possible to enter a condition in which there is no desire. Now mother is taking us to the other floor that we touched when the desires were not fulfilled. Now mother is also referring to our movement from desire soul to the true soul. Now this is really beautiful, and I would really recommend those of us who are interested furthermore to read this directly from the texts of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. What is desire soul and what is true soul? तो अभी तक हमने सुना था that I have one soul. Now mother is saying there are two souls within us. One soul is the desire soul, which is full of इच्छाएं, जो कबीर कहते हैं ना, आशा तृष्णा ना मरी, कह गए दास कबीर. So जो मरता है वो हमारी बॉडी मर जाती है, but the desires continue, the attachments continue. तो कबीर कहते हैं मारना है तो उसको मारो जिसका मरना इस जन्म में बहुत जरूरी है. The desires, the attachments, the wants of all kinds. And it does not mean that I will live a life which will be very nearest. I would even live a very, very proactive life, because now I am doing work out of a joy within, because there is so much energy that divine is pouring into me, that I want to put this energy into the divine work. So you will not be needing the external energy that we want from cravings of chocolate or other kind of things. For example, all the relationships or all money or all kind of desires. Rather than now, because I have touched that fountain within me, which mother refers to as the true soul. Now what is happening is I'm becoming like a river which is flowing and which wants to put its energy now in whatever way grace wants it to flow. So there is no requirement from the desires, but I am also very proactive. And this is the difference between mother's yoga, integral yoga, and the yoga of ascetics. Now, what will an ascetic do, which is also very important? He is into the witness Purusha. He is mostly into the detached state of consciousness. If I am a sadhak, I am a sadhu, mostly meditating, which also is a very important part of the universe. But in that state, I am in the witness Purusha. The kind of yoga which Sri Aurobindo and Mother want us to do or give ourselves to, that yoga requires our collaboration. In that, I cannot only be a witness Purusha. I have to be in the witness, yet I have to flow with the grace very actively. So there would be a lot of activity happening because the work is now of divine work that I am doing. It's not I'm not doing the work for my own selfish agendas or selfish desires, because the desire soul is something which I am leaving behind now. I'm touching the other floor where the party is not happening. This now the divine party is happening. I'm on that floor. So again, I'll just repeat this very important paragraph. The mother is saying it is impossible to satisfy a desire perfectly and also to renounce a desire. So both ways are imperfect. What is possible is to enter a condition in which there is no desire. Here comes the other level, the different floor. And mother says, this is the, no, I just connected these bits, what mother is saying, to the movement of our own consciousness from the desire soul to the true soul. Now, what is a desire soul? Desire soul is when I am living my life from wants, from motives, from agendas, from what my thoughts are saying, from what I really want in this life, all these wants. This is my desire. And how to know that you're running life from a desire soul? How do you know? When things don't happen according to you, you become frustrated, irritated, anxious. Okay, that is the desire soul running us. Now when you are on the floor of the true soul, when you are away from the desire soul, then there is a calm and certitude within. There is a faith within. There is a very, very strong faith that yes, no matter what the circumstances, the divine work will happen. Even when I am not the instrument, the divine work will happen. It does not mean that you keep on, giving up your work. No, not at all. It means that whatever comes your way, you do it as a offering to the divine. And in that, there is no anxiety, there is no frustration, because you know that if the divine is creating unfavorable conditions, then there must be a separate plan to this whole situation. So there is no anxiety, there is no selfish fulfillment I want to have through that movement. And that is how I can know that it's not the desire soul that is working. Yes. So Preeti is saying, if we see the desires just boost the ego, yes, which they do. Therefore, controlling ego also controls desires. Now, at this point, maybe I would ask you how to then control the ego, Preeti, or anyone else. How do I control the ego? If you are using that sentence, I'll ask this question. If I am a seeker, Preeti, how do I control my ego? Yeah. Yes, by being grounded. Yes. Anyone else? You can just unmute or maybe type. So how to control my ego? Because I see that by satisfying my desires, I'm boosting my ego. And I don't want to do that. So how to now do this controlling of the ego? So Riddhi says, when I know what I am doing is happening through me, okay, that I am just nimit matra, I am an instrument and I am not the doer. That is what you are saying, Riddhi? Yeah, when I'm not attached, okay. Yes, yeah. There is a very fine line of balance here, which I want to point out, because sometimes we can become attached even to our detachment. So that has to be kept again in notice. This Maya Thagni that Kabir says, it comes in many, many forms. So I can be attached even to my detachment. Yeah. So one has to be really kind of on guard all the time. And then I become, then I even become a judge. I keep on judging others also. This person is attached, so attached, I am so detached. So these kind of things always, they can come anytime. Yeah. So Preeti is saying, when I realize I am just a speck of dust in this big cosmos. Yes, that is one way, uh, kind of controlling the ego. And so in the integral yoga of Mother and Sri Aurobindo, ego is the instrument, yet ego is the bar at later stages. So one has to constantly kind of keep on surrendering whatever one sees is becoming an obstacle. So that is the best way suggested by the mother, that remember me and offer yourself to me. Remember me and offer yourself to me. So what I want to point out here is that we are too minuscule. Yes, when Preeti said that I am a speck of dust, but this ego doesn't feel so. The ego feels that it is really big. So what to do when in certain circumstances this ego actually takes that vikral roop, which it does in many cases? One just offers, because it is not in our hands, in the hands of the human being, to sort the ego or to put it at its right place. So mother has said that nothing is wrong in this world, only things are not at their right place. What is the right place of the ego? To be a servant of the divinity, to be a servant of the grace. That is a perfect place of the ego. So their ego also becomes very, very helpful in the divine work, because now it is assuming its perfect place, which is as a servant, which you guys just referred in the chat window. So once I assume my role, uh, right role in this divinity, in this universe, then the problems really kind of reduce. They become less and less, because now the servant of the divine doesn't want anything from life as such, because he has the service of the divine. That is the biggest gift he has. So Kabir says that I am Das Kabir. Kabir refers to himself as Das Kabir. So, if one has that willingness to put or give away oneself to the service of the divine, then virtually all of the sufferings one really gets kind of rid of. Even the suffering coming from desires, which bother us so many times. Yeah. So, yes. So Preeti says a small exercise like imagining what would life be when I'm not there. Yes, Preeti, it's a very beautiful exercise. Yes. Everything will go on as usual. Yeah. Yeah. And that really takes off burden from our shoulders. Yeah, totally. Then why do I give you so much importance to myself? This reminds me of a time when I was in the hospital. I had to undergo two surgeries owing to some problem, and at that time my kids were really very small, and I had a lot of burden of being a doer, during that time. And what happened was, so I landed up in the hospital, and I had to stay like 4 days in the hospital, one breastfeeding child in the home and the other toddler in the home. And I could not do anything, and that was really amazing, because that was a big burden taken off my shoulders, that see, the life is still moving on even when you are not there. So you can just get rid of this role of being a mother all the time. So that was really a revelation. Yeah. Thank you for sharing this. So further, okay, let me just move on. Okay, mother now refers to, I'll just take this bit from mother's agenda. So mother says, it is always said that it is desire that creates difficulties, and indeed it is so. So अगर हम अपने life movements देखें, जहाँ जहाँ हम problem में पड़े हैं, wherever we have found ourselves in difficulties, we will see that it were our own desires that created the complex of the difficulty. The desire may be simply something added on to a vibration of will. It is also said that nothing happens except by the supreme will. So how can the two things be true at the same time? So mother is saying that एक तरफ से कहा जा रहा है that everything is happening according to the supreme will. What is happening is that I am making it a mixture, as if I am preparing a chemical mixture and putting my selfish agendas in the divine will. So in each activity of our life, the divine will is in operation, but how I complicate it? By putting my selfish agenda into the thing. So I mix it up. That is what mother is saying. The will, when it is the one will, the supreme will expressing itself, is direct, immediate. There cannot be any obstacles. That's what mother says, that if it is a supreme will, then it just acts, it doesn't create confusions. There cannot be any obstacles. So all the delays, all the blocks, all the complications, or even that brings about failure, is necessarily a mixture of desire. So this is what mother is saying, that if I found complications in certain phases of life, or even now I am finding it, I can be sure that I must have mixed up my desire with the divine will. Now this requires a kind of surgery, because now you have to look into yourself very, very closely and now see where is the mixture. Where did I put my own desire and my own wants and my own things into the movement of the divine. So further, mother says that if we really want peace and joy, then to want what the divine wants in all sincerity is the essential condition for peace and joy in my life. So mother is saying one has to be really clear about this. क्योंकि बहुत बार हम clear नहीं होते हैं, because we keep on mixing our own wants and desires into what divine wants. So mother is saying to want what the divine wants in all sincerity is an essential condition for peace and joy. How I can use this in my life is, if there is a trouble with my peace and joy in life, I can be sure that I have mixed up desire and selfish demands in that thing. Almost all human miseries come from the fact that human beings are almost always persuaded that they know better than the divine. Yes. So Himanshi is asking, how do we realize what the divine wants? So Himanshi, it's a very, 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 very important question. First of all, thank you for asking this, because if one knows this, then I think our uh, task is a lot reduced. How do we realize what the divine wants? Is now what you are doing is, as if I have given you a mixture and you are taking the kankad and patthar out of that mixture. That is what the procedure is. So to look at your life situation, to look at your life very, very closely, and to see what is my hidden demand in this particular situation. That is the kankad, that is the patthar. So what I do is I pick it up and throw it away. And then what is left is what the divine wants. So what you are doing is neti neti. You are reducing the garbage from your life situation. You are purifying your life situation by reducing by taking away the kankad and patthar of my own demands of what I want from this life situation. Usually problem क्या होती है कि हमें यही नहीं पता होता है कि हमें चाहिए क्या, और दूसरा अगर पता भी लग जाए हमें क्या चाहिए तो हम उसके पीछे पड़ जाते हैं एज इफ अगर ये नहीं मिला तो मेरी जिंदगी में कुछ कम हो जाएगा. So that is why it is very important to be wanting to have divine in the life. And how to have the divine in the life? Throw yourself away from the life, and then what is remaining will be the divine. So answering Himanshi's question, how to do this, one path, one particular method that now I'm talking of is to sincerely look at your own hidden agendas, your own hidden demands from the person that you are interacting with, or a life situation, or a job. And once you throw away and pick those things away, that yes, I have been wanting this, and this is actually not important, I can throw this away. I can stop clinging to this desire of mine that this is how it should happen. Then what is remaining is the divine will. So this is how you kind of recognize or purify or sanctify the kind of situations that we go through. Yes, okay. So I am assuming it's a bit clear, Himanshi. So just moving on further as Preeti types. So just reiterating what mother was saying, that if I want what divine wants in all sincerity, then I will not be away from peace and joy. So what I have to do is I have to recognize those demands and instances which are complicating the affair and throw them away. तो उसके साथ बिल्कुल जैसे उसको तुच्छ समझ के निकाल ही दिया तुमने कि नो, नॉट नेसेसरी, although it was very important for you, but you removed it away, knowing that the divine knows better than me. But mother says the complication is almost all human miseries come from the fact that human beings are almost always persuaded that they know better than the divine. This is the problem. So the problem is that the divine will is happening, and what I am doing is I am putting my selfish agendas like kankad and patthar into that situation, and I am thinking that if I mix this kankad in the situation, then ahaha, what a mixture I would have. This is the mixture I want in life. So that is the thing that one has to be aware of. This is where we are acting from the desire soul, where I'm not able to get rid of those hidden movements from the life situation. Okay, Riddhi, I will repeat. Yeah. So I'm saying that the divine will is functioning in the regular aspects of life. It is not that it is not it is not present. How I complicate the matter is that I put a mixture of my own hidden demand, my own hidden agenda, my own hidden manipulation from that particular situation, and I think that if I don't put this masala in, then something will be lacking in my life. So mother is saying, how will I know? Only you will know, Riddhi. No one else can know, because it is your life. I cannot yeah I cannot say that, Riddhi, this is the thing that you are manipulative about. Only Riddhi can know that I am manipulative about this thing. Yes. How will I be clear of my intentions? Now Riddhi is asking, how will I be clear of my intentions? Who can do this for you? Only you can do this. And if you really are willing, then invoke divine presence, invoke, ask that, mother or whoever you believe in, ask the divine that, give me the strength that I may root out my own hidden intentions, because one needs strength in that aspect. It cannot be done without strength. It's like, ego is now on a self kill. It's like self bombing itself. So it's not easy, because all my life I have lived out of this ego, And now I have to kind of bomb this ego. I have to root out the very functions of the ego that it was operating from. So obviously it is very difficult, but it is not at all difficult if one really wants nothing but the divine in life. Then you will not even have to be asking this question, how I will be clear of my intentions. Because then you will know that I want to have a purified life, I want to have a sanctified life. And for that, no matter how ashamed I feel that yes, I was jealous, I was full of hate, I was full of my petty intentions, but now I will root them out. So you are taking the roop of the Kali yourself, you are becoming the Durga yourself, you are cleaning your inner sanctuary, and no one else can do it for you, only grace provides help. So Riddhi, you have all the power. Only needed is a willful surrender, a willful kind of a willingness to walk on this path. Uh, Selflessness, yes, if you can, yeah, you can use that term, selflessness, but I would say it's more like a self kill. So you are now on a self bombing mission, that wherever you see self, you bomb it, you kind of ruthlessly discard it from your life. And that is how your the divine presence in life even, further kind of comes more and more into picture, because all the impurities you are taking them out ruthlessly. So I in fact I would share a blog with you in this chat window later, that self love is actually very ruthless, because it does not let any obscurity, any hidden agenda live in itself. That what is self love is. So if the ego is operating, it means that I'm not loving my loving towards myself at all, because I'm letting all the stupid intentions and stupid obscurities run my life. If I'm really loving myself, then I would not be away from the divine even for a moment. That is self love. So in that, you don't even need to ask anyone how to be clear of intentions, because then it will be your demand that I want to be clear of my intentions. No one can stop you. Yeah, just going on further as Preeti types. Only by giving oneself in all sincerity to the divine will does one gain that peace and calm and joy that arises from the abolitions of desires. So mother is saying that first task is to give yourself to the divine. When you say that you give yourself to the divine, it means that that higher floor that I touched when the desires were partying on the other floor and I was untouched, that higher floor, I give myself away to that floor, which is untouched from all those desires. So mother is saying giving oneself in all sincerity to the divine will, that is the only way to gain peace, calm and joy. Now again, it I can ask myself, do I really want peace, calm and joy in this moment, or do I want that this person should behave this way? Because if I really am after that, yes, this person should be behaving this way, then I would not bother about my peace, calm and joy. Then what I would bother about is that this thing should happen this way no matter what. So one has to be really clear in one's intentions, that I really want peace, calm and joy, and it does not matter if this works proceed in that way or the other way. It is the divine will. So if I am I did what I wanted to do the best, and then I leave it to the divine to sort it out. Don't take extra burden on your shoulders. And that is also the movement towards the true soul or the psychic being. So Preeti is Preeti is typing, when you have tasted everything and it no more gives you joy and happiness, you want something more and something else. Yes, yes. And that is how ego willfully surrenders. That it has tasted the joy of desires, the momentary pleasure of desires, it has tasted the satisfaction of wants, it has tasted all the selfish demands from the relationships, and now it has a knowing within itself that yes, this is okay, but there should be something more in life. And that is where the movement towards being a servant to the divine comes into picture. A willful servant to the divine. So mother is saying further that the psychic being knows this definitely. So that is why, again, mother comes back in many of instances back to the psychic being, back to being in touch with your true soul. So mother is saying the psychic being knows that the divine will must prevail. It is a willing, surrendered kind of servant to the divine, psychic being. So that is the higher floor that we are referring to. The psychic being knows this definitely, and thus by uniting with our psychic being, we can know this what divine will wants to. But the first condition is not to be a slave of personal desires and not to mistake them for the truth of one's being. So first, it is very important for me to realize that yes, I have lived enough of my desires and I see the futility of it. And now this is not the path that I want to take. So this is what leads us towards the psychic being. So I'll take up one question from Himanshi. Does that mean one has to experience all desires? Very clever, Himanshi. Does that mean that one has to experience all desires before one is ready to surrender? Not at all. Not at all. So it means that one understands the very nature of the desires. So what is your age, Himanshi, if I may ask? 47. So I think it's a good enough age to have tasted many desires, I would say, and many going through, many experiences. So I don't think there are any more different and interesting desires for you waiting, before you are ready to surrender. It's very hilarious. It's really hilarious. Not really. Okay, so then I leave it up to you, because if you feel that there are more desires that you want to experience, then go ahead and experience them. But the thing that mother is pointing at is that the very nature of desire is sticky. For example, atta. You take flour and you knead it with water. What is the nature of a flour? It's sticky. It does not matter what kind of a flour it is. It might be different in consistency, but the nature of flour is usually sticky. So that is the nature of all desires. All the desires are like that. They make us suffer and they have no end in themselves. So if you want to ask me that one has to experience all the desires, I leave it up to you. I will leave it up to your intelligence, to your discretion to decide. If you feel that you must do it, then do it. Go ahead and see for yourself whether it is needed or not. Yeah. Yes. So Preeti is saying she must be having a higher desire. Yeah. Why not? Actually, mother says that uh, if even if you want to have a desire, you have the highest possible desire, which is to turn all your movements to the divine. So mother says that even if you want to have a desire, then have a desire for the higher possible things in life, which take you towards the divine rather than turning your back towards the divine. So if that is the case, yeah, why not? I would say go ahead. Yes. Yeah. So further, I would just take mother said about building a new community. So you must be aware of Auroville. So there is a small excerpt that I took in this document when mother is discussing uh, that how must be a person who is a Aurovillian. What is demanded? What is expected of him, the future person? So there are a few points which maybe later you can read yourself also. So it's a discussion happening, and one point is the will to consecrate oneself entirely to the divine. So it does not matter whether you are in Auroville or in any part of the universe. What matters is whether you are willing to consecrate yourself, to give yourself to the divine. Have so much of absolute faith in the divine. that yes, I now want to live rest of the life completely for the divinity, and I have, struggled enough, and I have learned enough, gone through enough experiences of my own ego and self. So this is one point. The other point that mother says is that the Aurovillian must not be a slave to his desires. And this can happen again only when I am leading myself towards the true being that I am. If I am still a slave of my desire soul, जो हमेशा चाहती ही रहती है, एक ऐसा part within me which is seated in the front part of my heart, mother says that the desire soul is seated in the front part of my heart, the vital being, and the true soul is seated at the back side of the heart. You go deep and deep into your heart horizontally, and there one day you kind of get in touch with your soul. So that is the movement that mother is asking us to make. And the first condition that mother puts here is inner discovery. This discovery of what's hidden, the treasure hidden within me. This treasure of the true soul that mother remarks again and again within me. This is the first condition of being a true Aurovillian. So no matter where on earth I am, I can be a true servant to the mother if I am on this path of inner discovery. So with this, I would just kind of take a few dohas from Kabir, which were going exactly with the kind of discussion that we were having today. So Kabir is saying, चाह मिटी चिंता मिटी मनवा बेपरवाह जिनको कुछ नहीं चाहिए वह शाहन के शाह. सो कबीर कह रहे हैं चाह मिट गई मेरी, चिंता भी मिट गई, और मनवा बेपरवाह. हाँ, मन पे अब कोई परवाह नहीं है. देयर इज नो लोड ऑफ वरीज ऑन द माइंड. जिनको कुछ नहीं चाहिए वो शाहन के शाह. अब हमें तो चाहिए ही चाहिए होता है, हर सिचुएशन से हमें कुछ ना कुछ चाहिए होता है. तो नाउ कबीर इज ऑल्सो रेफरिंग टू दैट floor that mother was referring to, that floor where the divine party is happening, because that is where if I am stationed, there are no desires, there are no worries for the future or the past, and there my mind is rid of all the burden. Only then, if I have tasted that juice of the divine party, only then can I be free of worries. Before that, living from the desire soul, this cannot happen. The next doha, तन भीतर मन मानिया बाहर कहूं न लाग ज्वाला ते फिर जल भया बुझी जलंती आग. सो कबीर इज सेइंग कि मेरे तो तन के भीतर ही मन मान गया है, मुझे अब बाहर जाने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती. बाहर कहीं लगता ही नहीं है, इनफैक्ट अंदर ही लगा रहता है. और जो जलती हुई ज्वाला थी, जो डिजायर्स, डिमांड्स और एक्सपेक्टेशंस की जो जलती हुई ज्वाला थी, वो अब बुझ गई है. उसमें अब आग नहीं जल रही जो मैं जलता रहता था अपनी तड़प में. सो दिस इज व्हाट कबीर इज रेफरिंग टू, कि मेरे तन के भीतर ही मन मान गया है, अब बाहर लगने की उसको जरूरत नहीं पड़ती. अगेन रेफरिंग टू अ विलफुल सरेंडर टू द डिवाइन. तन को जोगी सब करें मन को बिरला कोय सहजे सब सिद्धि पाहिए जो मन जोगी होए. सो कह रहे हैं कि तन का जोग सब करते हैं ना, वी ऑल डू द आसनास एंड प्राणायाम्स एंड एवरीथिंग. जो मन का जोग होता है, एग्जैक्टली द मन का जोग कोई विरला ही कर पाता है, बिकॉज अगेन दैट रिक्वायर्स अ लॉट ऑफ एज आई सेड, इट रिक्वायर्स सेल्फ बम्बार्डिंग. कबीर सूरमा, इट्स ऑन द किल, and who is it killing? Himself. So it's a big challenge in front of the ego that it realizes the futility of its effort and it says, okay, now I want to give myself. So here Kabir says that tan ka jog to sab karte hain, man ka koi virla hi kar pata hai. सहजे सब सिद्धि पाइए जो मन जोगी होए. जो मन को जोग की तरफ, योग की तरफ, किसका योग? मन को अब डिवाइन के साथ कनेक्ट करने का योग. मन की जो राइट प्लेस है, उसकी जो राइट हाईएस्ट पोटेंशियल है जो मन का, मैं उसकी तरफ ले जा रही हूँ. अब मुझे इतना प्यार है अपने आप से कि अब मैं रुक नहीं रही. मैं अब मन को लोअर तल पे रखने के लिए तैयार नहीं हूँ, लोअर फ्लोर पे तल रखने के लिए. मैं अब कह रही हूँ मन, तुझे वो मिलेगा जो तेरे लिए सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी है. and that is surrender to the divine. Further, मोटी माया सब तजे, छीनी तजी न जाए, पीर पैगंबर औलिया, झीनी सबको खाए. Now this is really very beautiful. So here Kabir says कि जो मोटी मोटी माया होती है ना, जो दिख जाती है. Yeah. So Preeti is saying that tan ka yog can also take you to dil ka yog, which is very, very true. In fact, that is the true purpose of the physical yoga, to actually connect you to even the heart and the mind to the divine. And if that is happening, I think there can be nothing more beautiful than that, because that is taking care of the mind, the vital, and the physical, all three aspects. So yes, yeah, very true. So कबीर कह रहे हैं मोटी माया सब तजे, जो ऊपर ऊपर की माया होती है ना, जिसे हम कहते हैं यार ये पैसा तो माया है, ये रिश्ते नाते तो माया है. सो कह रहे हैं कबीर मोटी माया तो सब तज देते हैं, झीनी तजी नहीं जाती. नाउ व्हाट इज दिस झीनी, डेलिकेट, सूक्ष्म माया दैट कबीर इज रेफरिंग टू? Now this is what which we were abhi talking regarding, our own intentions, our own hidden agendas, our own wants and desires. ये हमको खाती हैं. तो कबीर कह रहे हैं जो झीनी माया है ना, वही सबको खाती है. मोटी मोटी तो छोड़ दें, कोई बात नहीं, मोटी इतना खाती भी नहीं है. पीर पैगंबर तक को खाया हुआ है इसने, कबीर कह रहे हैं. कैसे? क्योंकि अगर मैं, if I become attached to even being a sadhu way of life, of even being a, having a detached way of life, so again I am stuck to a detached way of life. So nowhere this sticking should happen. And if the sticking is happening in my life, then definitely it is owing to the maya, it is owing to my own ego, which has now taken a different route, which is not recognizable. And that is why Kabir says जो माया है वो महा ठगनी है. It kind of fools us in several different ways. So one has to be on high alert all the time. Then Kabir says माया मरी न मन मरा, मर मर गए शरीर, आशा तृष्णा ना मरी, कह गए दास कबीर. So कबीर कह रहे हैं कि ना माया मरती है और ना ही मेरा मन मरता है. मन का कंटेंट क्या है? थॉट्स. ना वो मरता है और ना माया. माया इज एनीथिंग दैट इज कीपिंग मी सेपरेट फ्रॉम माय एसेंस, दैट इज माया. ऑल द ब्लॉक्स दैट आई पुट अप बिटवीन डिविनिटी एंड माई सेल्फ. एंड दिस मैं का होना ही माया है. जब तक मैं है, माया एग्जिस्ट करेगी. सो कबीर कह रहे हैं ना मैं मरता है, ना मन मरता है. मरता क्या है? शरीर. ओनली शरीर डाइज. आशा तृष्णा ना मरी, because that potli of आशा तृष्णा comes forward with me when I take the next birth. कह गए दास कबीर. So if we really want to die today, one must be dying to one's own self, one's identity, then that sticks to oneself. So it's a very good indicator for all of us. Anything that is sticking to me in this moment right now, whether I am having a conversation with a person, whether I am having a life situation, handling a life situation, anything that becomes a burden of the mind is to be dropped off. That is not worth it. That is not the divine will. Divine will never comes with a burden. Divine will flows like a river. It flows. It takes you along with. So it is a very good kind of a practical method which I can use, those of us who want to use it, that if something is becoming burdensome in me, definitely I am sticking to my desires, that this is what I want from my life and this is what is not happening and this is how it should be happening. In that case, I am putting ego higher than the divine will, saying that my ego knows much better that how my life should move. So we all must, again, just kind of closing the session, we all those of us who are willing, we must take the right place of us in our life, which is being a true servant, being a willful surrender to the divine, and see what is the beauty of the life in that state, because life really becomes a beautiful offering if one is able to do that. And वहां पे मतलब ये नहीं है कि जिंदगी खत्म है वहां पे, the real life actually begins there, because now you will be given tasks to perform, now you will be shown even bigger challenges to go through, because now you are at a state where the grace is with you all the time, so you can kind of take care of even bigger challenges without the selfish agendas. Now that is really something very beautiful, and I hope that all of us get a taste of this in our life, sooner later, or at some point of life we must get a taste of this divine life. So with that, thank you, and I'll just post the document here. This is the document which I prepared for all of you. uh, you can take it from there or also post it on the group. Have the desire to come in the circle of service no matter what your profession. Yes, yes, Preeti. Yeah, yeah. Mother also says that it does not matter what task you are doing. What matters is, that whatever you are doing, just do it selflessly as an offering. As Ridhi just said, dissolution of the self. And that is what our task should be, that we are bombarding ourselves continuously with the help of grace, so that this ego becomes even sukshma, even more maheen, even more delicate and fine, so that it is now ready to be used as an instrument. The divine light can now shine through that curtain, which has now become so delicate. Because earlier it was like a wall, through which the divine light was not able to peep through. And now you are making it like a curtain, like a very, very fine curtain. So that's really beautiful. Yeah, yeah, task should be an offering. That is what mother says, that remember me and offer, even if you are doing a jhadu pocha, if you are even serving somebody or doing a task which you don't like that much to do, even that you can add beauty to it when you do it as an offering. So that is what mother says. So if there are any more things, or we can just kind of close the session for today. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Ridhi, for joining. Thank you, Himanshi ji. Thank you.